for a happy marriage. Introduction. In fact, the easiest thing for a woman these days is to declare her independence, that she is equal to men at work, and as for her home and family, they rank third or fourth. The tragedy for a woman is to give up building a good happy home. This is how these words were attributed to an English writer and specialist in women's affairs. This opinion does not mean that a woman abandons her life and her goals, but refers to the fact that there is a fundamental responsibility towards the family. Marriage has never been an ordinary step when one thinks he has matured only in age, but it is a project that needs a mature and average person, especially in this age when the rates of divorce and crimes have risen. Therefore, Islam has dealt with the issue of marriage and its separation to provide happiness and comfort for the couple, starting with the first step of choosing a life partner, and then the factors of continuity and success of marriage, and this is what this book deals with. What is the purpose of marriage? The Islamic religion has agreed with human instinct. It has not legislated what is contrary to human nature or what calls for pornography that destroys society. And the closest evidence of this is what it legislated in marriage to suit human needs, and also did not make marriage limited to physical lust only. Still, it was for the purpose of spiritual and moral connection that is more influential than a physical connection. A man by nature needs someone who cares about him, and thus the intention of marriage can be understood as the maintenance of one's own desires and their results. It is also an end by which a Muslim aims to have offspring that preserves the religion of Allah, and I saw him. Imam al-Ghazali says that marriage is not the comfort of a rebellious body but is higher than that. Yes, a student of marriage should not be fooled by dazzling appearances. The first sign of one's honorable inner self is his parents, and let us know that emotions should not be in the first place despite their importance, while the basis that must be adhered to when choosing a partner is to be to a degree of correct religiosity on which his life is based. Whether for a man or a woman, it is surprising that today we hear those who are surprised by the sanctity of revealing the head, and those who are amazed by the sanctity of mixing without limits. Those of us who are overcome by his emotions say that he will convince her of hijab and chastity, or that she will fix him and convince him to pray, but the truth is that out of reach. A good woman is one of the three sources of happiness. As the Messenger of Allah said, it is happiness. A woman sees that you like her, and she is absent, so she insures herself and her money. And then he said, it is mischief that a woman sees, so she insults you, and holds her tongue at you, and if she is absent, she does not insure her for herself and your money. Foundations of marriage stability. It is known that money and joy go with the minds. They are according to the world without a doubt, and the owner of wealth or position is respected among people, even if he is not eligible for it. And this is what is clear when proposing to a girl and what her parents see in that. Most of them prefer the rich, even if he is a little lucky, out of religiosity and commitment. Still, the philosophy of Islam has indicated otherwise. Islam has placed creation, manliness and chivalry as the origin of 10 men before the beauty of the body, the propriety of the view and the abundance of money. And this is what the Prophet of Allah Shuaib did with Moses, his daughter-in-law, after he helped his 2 daughters. Therefore, the girl must realize that the first priority is for the one in whom she finds the good 10. Those 10 come only with a man of some religion in creation so that he does her a favor and does not belittle her right, so he gives her affection and affection, protects her, honors her and does not humiliate her, and at the same time he is together with awareness and responsibility, and deals with crises. It is no secret to us what is clear from the increasing rates of divorce because women see the bad 10 of men and bad manners, and even it comes to the fact that they suffer in taking their rights after divorce from him. Let the girl learn from what some Arabs said, don't get married to 6 women, no selfishness, no manana, no tenderness, and don't get married in friendship, no bright and no friendship, selfishness, which is a lot of whining and complaining, and manana is the one who is grateful to her husband, so she says she did such and such for you, and tenderness is the one who is nostalgic for another husband, and sparkle is the one who gets angry over food, so she eats only alone. So a good woman realizes that marriage is perseverance and responsibility, not just luxury, which is joys and sorrows. This is the mother of believers. Khadijah was a help to her husband, and she nurtured him even in his solitude without timidity or boredom, and walked with him on the bumpy road without fear, and she was the one who supported him with everything she had. The role of parents in a successful marriage. Now we turn to the role of fathers and their duty to guide their sons and daughters. It is evident that the father knows the person who will accept his daughter's marriage well in his behavior, religion, character and reputation, which appears in the question about him, the period of engagement, and his dealings as a whole, and the knowledge that the owner of religion and some of them remain on the affection of his wife even in her illness and loss of beauty. Also, kinship should not constitute a sensitive nerve in the marriage relationship. Many do not marry their daughters to their relatives or men from their families for reactionary reasons or simply for fear of embarrassment or a break, without regard to the creation of the man and his religion. Religion was aware of the foundations of the success of marriage and achieving its purpose in this world and the hereafter. On this we saw Bilal marry the sister of Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, and the Messenger of Allah married his Maulana Zayd ibn Haritha to Zainab Qurashiyya. Therefore, a lot of money was not the basis, just as Islam did not distinguish between Arabic and Ajami, or white and black. In addition, he did not force a girl to marry someone she did not like. For example, when a maid came to him, the Prophet said her father was her husband. She hated him, so he chose her, and therefore the father, if he offered his daughter someone he liked for her, should discuss her and explain to her the reasons for his preference for him and his advantages. If she chose, there is no coercion or compulsion. How does a husband deal with his wife? The Prophet was the best teacher of how a husband deals with his wife, as he was kind and merciful to his wives and took into account their weaknesses. He was also with a non-rude or frowning expression. It was he who said, "And your choice is your choice for your women," but he was in the service of his family, as Aisha said, and he was also considerate of his wife's feelings. When Aisha said, "The Messenger of Allah said to me, I know if you are satisfied with me, and if you furious," she said, I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "But if you are satisfied with me, you say, 'No, Lord Muhammad,' and if you are angry with me, I said, 'No, Lord Ibrahim,'" she said. I said, "Yes, and Allah, O Messenger of Allah, I will abandon only your name," as we learn from the Holy Prophet to listen to the advice of the wife and respect her opinion. A reasonable woman was distinguished by her wisdom in many situations, which far exceeds the minds of men. On the day of Hudaybiyah, the Messenger of Allah listened to the advice of Salama when the companions refrained from cutting their guidance. So Salama suggested that the Prophet go out and not talk to anyone until he cut his body and shaved. When the companions saw him, they followed him, just as fun and kindness were one of the qualities of the Prophet with his wives. So he was racing Mrs. Aisha, so she preceded him and preceded her. This is because he loved to bring pleasure to his family, as he was taking care of his wife in her illness and taking care of her, which was why Uthman missed the departure of the Prophet and his companions for the conquest of Badr due to the illness of his wife Ruqayyah. So the Prophet said to him, "Stay with her and you will be rewarded for witnessing the full moon." Tips for a successful marriage. One of the most important things to focus on is that the husband preserves the dignity of his wife and takes into account her feelings, so as not to anger her, for example, by talking about another woman and describing her beauty, and not belittling her in front of their family. The wife should take into account his feelings and his commendable jealousy, not talk to men, not open her door to a stranger, and not authorize anything until she sees his opinion. These are the names of Bint Abu Bakr, who says, "Zubair married me and his money is in the land of money, not owned, nothing immature, and I used to have water, and I used to sort out the west of it, that is, a bucket, and I used to knead and I didn't have the best bread, and he used to bake neighbors of my supporters, and they were women of truth." He said. Instead, when the Messenger of Allah saw her carrying the cords on her head and he had men from the Ansar with him, when he invited her to take them behind him, so she was ashamed of walking with men and remembered the jealousy of Zubair. So the Prophet understood that and went on. And this is Hakim bint al-Harith, who followed her husband Ikrimah ibn Abu Jahl, and he had not yet delivered but she kept his offer. So then she traveled on a harrowing journey to catch up with her husband who was going to escape. So she was alone with it. Then she brought her husband Ikrimah to the Messenger of Allah until he became Islam, so that she could strike the highest meanings of loyalty, and taking her husband's hand towards what was good for him. Moreover, fulfillment is also after death, which is what the Messenger of Allah did with Khadijah. So if he slaughtered a sheep, he sent its meat to Khadijah's friends in fulfillment of her loyalty. Another position for Fatima bint Abdul Malik, the wife of Caliph Umar bin Abdul Aziz, was when she refused to return a precious necklace that she had placed in the house of money to carry out her husband's orders, the Caliph. When he died, she refused to return it, saying, "I would not have obeyed my husband alive and disobeyed him dead." When disagreements come, and the emotion fluctuates, marriage by its nature contains a lot of skirmishes and differences in desires. Still, only a few realize this and choose their partners based on it, as the parties, especially the husband, must be sufficient to fix their differences and eliminate apathy and aversion, and absorb the anger of one of them and contain it, because some of these disagreements may have a significant impact, and let the man know that as a husband he another secret. Moreover, marriage itself requires that there be concessions made by both parties to gain more than what they have given up. If they disagree, which is normal, they should deal with polite means to solve their problems, and woo each other with kind and soft words. It is stated in the Book of Allah that men have authority over women. One of the tasks of guardianship is for the husband to work to preserve his wife's religion and encourage her to do what benefits her from maintaining obligatory duties and refraining from corruption. It is also advised for the husband to reduce the periods of his presence at home if the holiday increases. It is well known that this may cause outstanding disagreements, and let one know that good manners with a woman are not to stop harming her as much as it is possible for her. And let us remember what Al-Faruq Umar said to those who wanted to divorce his wife because he does not love her. Umar said to him, "And were the houses based only on love? So where are the care and grumbling?" The equality trick. Raising children. Islam forbids a woman from praying in the mosque if she neglects her home, leaves her husband and leaves him on the pretext of worshipping in the mosque. She also must preserve his offer, keep his absence, and only enter someone's house with his knowledge. In contrast, the husband must take into account his wife's rights to treat her well, and the Messenger of Allah forbade his companions from neglecting the request of their wives on the pretext of worship.